right, Steve, I think we are live here. I'm just gonna bring up. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the debut, the inauguration of the Outdoorsman show. This is a new content based show that I've created in hopes to create some really interactive type content for the hunters and fishermen of this world and just, outdoorsmen in general. So I'm really excited to kick this off. And this is the debut. We have a very special guest today that we'll get to in 1 second. Just like to thank the sponsors of the show. We have the Total Arm Wrestling League, which is my league, one of the largest international professional arm wrestling leagues in the world today. As well, we have Western Survivor Beef Jerky, the best beef jerky in the world today. So if you're looking for some good grub to have on your tree stand or in your blind, well, those long winter or summer days, fall days, hit up westernsurvivor.ca or check them out on Facebook at Western Survivor Beef Jerky. Adam Vandell, if you're watching this, get me some beef jerky I can send to Steve. I'd love for him to try it out. He's got so many cool flavors. It's actually really good stuff. So Steve, I'll get you some of that.
Right on.
So let's get right into it. Special guest we have today, a man that needs no introduction. One of the most charismatic, interesting personalities in the hunting social media world today. They're very funny. The host of the Edge TV show. Welcome, Steve Ecklund.
Thanks very much for having me, Jeff. I appreciate it. Congratulations on the launch of this new venture.
Yeah, it's exciting. I hope this kind of piggybacks off the same thing I do in the arm wrestling world. I run a live show there that it works really well. It's caught on. We get lots of people engaging in conversation, asking questions. So it's very interesting. The thing I like about hunting is I believe there's a lot more people into it. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of good stories to be told. And I really want to coordinate with and interact with guests each and every week where we can just hear good old fashioned hunting stories. Have people ask questions that they might not be able to ask because just from watching, let's say they're watching a hunting show and you see somebody hunting in Russia and there's lots of questions that come up. I find myself asking questions all the time, but they just they don't get answered or you can't answer them. So this is kind of the basis of this show is to have people interact, get questions asked, hard questions, good questions, whatever they may have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that being said, this show is raw. It's completely live. We will take any we will take any questions. Even if you object or you disagree with anything we talk about in the hunting world.
And I'm drinking whiskey, so I'll answer them honestly.
And if you've seen any of Steve's posts, he's probably got some of the best answers to the negative folks in the hunting world. So there is no doubt about that he's got a great personality of coming back to some of the negative posts that people put. But yeah, with that, we will take any questions regarding hunting, objections, negotiations, reservations, whatever it may be, as long as the content is constructive. So if you come on there and you're just trolling to look to start stuff, you'll just be blocked. And so if we have anybody in the live chat now, if you can see if the chat is working, it says it's working. So if there's anybody there who wants to.
You'll have to guide me on this, Jeff. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever even been on Zoom, and I see there's a chat button here, but I don't know how the hell any of this works. So my wife gave me a 45-minute crash course before this started. So
no problem. Anything that comes up in the live chat, I'll just read off the questions as they come. So so. Anyways, how's things going, Steve? How are you making out in this COVID world?
We're getting by. We're finally, a year into it, I guess, almost to the day now. And since everything kind of went sideways. Mm-hmm. And I think, just now I'm starting to, I guess, get along with it. It's such a, this virus has affected the entire planet.
You know what, Steve?
What?
We're going to start over.
Oh, you didn't click the on button?
No, it is live, but I didn't change my settings in Facebook.
Ah.
So we're going to start this over.
Okay. I'm good.
All right, guys, we are live. Sorry, we've been live for 4 minutes, but this is new to me and I didn't have my settings set to public. We're on public now. So welcome everybody to the debut, the inauguration of the Outdoorsmen show. This is a content-based show that I have created to interact with friends in the hunting community. I think it's going to piggyback off what I do in the arm wrestling world and just have guests come on each and every week. And we're going to just talk hunting. We're going to have people join the chat, ask some interesting questions. And yeah, just hear some good old fashioned hunting stories. We'll talk gear, tactics, places, locations, adventures, scary situations, near death experiences, whatever we need to do. So yeah, so welcome. We have a very special guest here today that I'll get to in just 1 second. Just want to talk about our sponsors. We have the Total Arm Wrestling League, which is my league. It's one of the largest international professional arm wrestling leagues in the world today. And so, yeah, I'm very happy to sponsor this show and, kind of put two of my passions in one scope here. So Western Survivor beef jerky, some of the best beef jerky on the planet today. If you have not tried it out, hit up westernsurvivor.ca or Western Survivor beef jerky on Facebook. It is incredible stuff, not well known yet, but Mr. Adam Vandell, if you are watching, please get me some, send some to my house. I can get some to Steve, and we can start trying the stuff here live on the show. Anyways, very special guest that needs no introduction. Mr. Steve Ecklund, the host of the Edge TV, one of the most charismatic, entertaining voices on social media today. Welcome, Steve, and thank you for being on the debut of the Outdoorsman show.
Well, thanks for having me, Jeff. It's a momentous occasion for sure, and congratulations on the new venture.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's pretty exciting to me. When I started doing the arm wrestling live talk shows, it's pretty evident that it catches on pretty quick, and people that love arm wrestling, they join the show, and you get a lot of interaction. We have celebrity guests on every week, and it works really well. And yeah, I had this thought that why not do this in the hunting community, my other passion. I think there's a lot more networking there, a lot more people. I think it's something that could do quite well, and we could have a lot of interactions. So yeah, so it's
well, if you ever need me on for the arm wrestling side, I used to be
you were a champion
back in my high school days.
Were you? How are those old elbows holding up now?
That was just arm wrestling the girls, I guess, back then.
Oh, is that right? Did you win any? There's some pretty strong women out there.
No, I grew up in Northern Ontario, so I didn't win very often.
Oh. So thank you for coming on, Steve. How are you making out in this COVID-filled world?
It's I guess almost a year to the date, right? And I think I'm just now putting up with it, I guess. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of hardships there. From work, a lot of people think that I just host a TV show and maybe I'm a spoon-fed trust fund baby, but that's not the case. I work a full-time job in the oil and gas industry and have for the same company for 25 years, a company called Canalta Flow Measurement. And I'm the director of sales and marketing for that company. So, my main office is actually just outside of Dallas, Texas. So when COVID's not happening or hunting season's not happening, I spend a lot of time down there, almost 2 weeks down there, and then come back home and work the 2 weeks here in Canada, and then come hunt season, which is pretty much getting to be all year round at this point. Just fit it in between. But yeah, the virus, I'm not going to lie, it's a serious deal. We had to be extra careful because kind of coinciding with the virus coming, my wife, got some bad health news and ended up with cancer. And so we were in and out of the hospital quite a bit, and had to be, real careful because the treatments really knocked the shit out of her immune system. And so I had to learn both sides. I'm still that guy that's like, I don't want to wear a mask. I believe it's a very dangerous virus, but I don't believe I think we've been led into fearing this way more than we should. So yeah, I've seen both sides of it. So, the kind of the redneck in me, if you will, says, screw the mask. This is I couldn't catch COVID if I went looking for it. Half the time, that's how I feel. But then the other half of the time, I'm talking to friends that have had it. It's been pretty serious for some of them. So, it's I hate to say it, but yeah, it's part of the new world right now.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no question, you can see, I travel to the States quite a bit competing and running my league. There's definitely a lot of political pressure with dealing with COVID. There's no doubt about that. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We learn to, adapt to it and
Yeah.
kind of live with it. Is what it is. We can't change it. It's the world we live in. So
well, that's the thing. It is change, right? And it's
yeah.
changing the way that we have to live our lives at this point in time anyway.
Exactly. So yeah, we just keep pushing along. But yeah, I wanted to, sorry to hear about your wife. That's very unfortunate. And for anybody that doesn't know Steve Ecklund, I mean, then you just don't sit around Sundays watching enough television, I guess, or Wild TV. Steve is definitely one of the most charismatic, most entertaining people on social media. He's always got something funny. It's very entertaining. He brings light to almost every situation, whether he's dealing with work, getting time off requests. It's always very entertaining to see what he posts, including the way he deals with anti-hunters and all the negativity he faces on Facebook. It's very entertaining to see how he interacts with people. So yeah, just maybe shed a little light on that, Steve, if you could.
Yeah, I think number one, I think it's just basically my personality that kind of leads me down these paths that aren't always, I'm really glad to hear you say that they come across as humorous. That's what I'm trying to do. Especially with the anti-hunters. I mean, we're under a tremendous amount of pressure all the time, and just, because I'm a little bit more in the public eye than some people, I get it a little more than most. And,
Exactly.
I just believe we've sat quiet for so long, and, just hope these antis went away with their comments and stuff like that. And it's got us nowhere. So, I mean, I've fought them. I've called them idiots. I went to the extremes, and finally I just decided, let's throw a little bit of what I think is witty humor at them. And sure enough, it just shuts them up so fast. It's pretty incredible. And, people enjoy it along the way. And of course, so do I.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very entertaining. I think it's unfortunate. We'll get to that later because I do want to touch on that and kind of some of the negativity you're subject to. But first, why don't we get a little bit of your backstory, Steve, where you come from growing up, your first, taste of hunting. I know you definitely had a lot of adversity in your own life dealing with cancer. And, I found it very inspirational, just your mindset and how you dealt with it. There's one thing that you said, and it was a few years back that, out of all the memes you see on Facebook and in the world today, there was one thing that you said that stuck with me to this day, and I found it very inspirational. And that's the time you said that how did you put it? You said, I am not in a battle with cancer. Cancer is in a battle with me. I love that quote. I think it's one of the best things it just speaks of your personality and who you are as a person, Steve. So yeah, why don't you just go ahead and tell us, who you are, where you came from, and a little bit of your backstory and history with the hunting world, your first taste of it anyways.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, depends how far down the rabbit hole you want to go, but I guess, I grew up a young kid in Northern Ontario, grew up into a hunting family. And kind of, every time I tell this story, it kind of sounds like it's 100 years ago, but of course we're only talking, 45, 46 years ago we started out. I can remember as a young boy, my dad would go on the moose hunts. The moose hunts were extremely important to our family, because in order to survive the winters, you had to have a moose in the freezer. It was the only time, watching my father, and yeah, he would deer hunt, he would bird hunt and all this kind of stuff. But the moose hunt, it was not about going on a holiday. This was the look of relief on his face when he or somebody in his hunting party even downed a moose that could be shared between a couple of families. The relief he had was incredible. And it stuck with me as I got older because, we're going on a lot of these adventures right now because it's a passion of ours. We are taking holiday time to go and do it. It was, and it's not that long ago. We're talking 40 years ago. This was a big deal. Like if you did not get a moose, you were in big trouble, right? And so, yeah, I kind of grew up in that environment ever since I was, just a wee kid. And of course, like any other young boy, I wanted to be a superhero when I grew up. And that was to emulate what my dad did. He's the superhero, as it is for many young boys, that's all we knew. So, I wanted to walk like him, talk like him, and definitely hunt like
100%,
him.
100%.
So from there, yeah, I grew up and there's all kinds of crazy stories, but this was Espinal, Ontario, Massey, Ontario. So we're talking, about an hour outside of Sudbury, Ontario, which is one of the bigger major centers. And yeah, I went to high school there, played junior hockey, thought I was going to be an NHLer. That was the first life lesson where it was like, one day you walk in and it's like, hey, you're going to get on a bus we actually had a game in Quebec and get to the rink and you're all done up in your suit and tie and coach calls you in the office and says, basically, hey, we love the heart you have. They give you that story. Oh, you have such a great heart. But really, now that I'm older, it was like the very politest way to tell me that I sucked and I wasn't going to go any further.
100%.
So, from there, it was just kind of figure out what you're going to do with life. I started archery. The only reason I started shooting a bow was to get a longer hunting season. So, and that ended up becoming, quite a big deal in my life. I shot professionally for many years, and yeah, this is 25 years ago when I moved out to Alberta. I was kind of at the, I would say, peak of my career. I think archery back then was no different than hockey. You look at some of the great hockey players from back then. The greatest hockey player that ever lived and ever will, as far as I'm concerned, Wayne Gretzky. But Wayne Gretzky couldn't even get on the ice with the kids that we have today. You know what I mean?
Isn't that true?
So, for what I was doing in the archery world, and that really propelled me because I started, shooting pie plates up against the sandbank, trying to make sure I could kill my animals and hunt longer. I got talked into going to a 3D archery tournament with a friend in a place called Manitoulin Island. And we went there and we got split up. And anyway, halfway through the day, we meet up for lunch. And he asked me, he's like, how'd you do? Because I've never done this before, right? But the thought of shooting arrows at life-size animal targets, like 25 in the morning and 25 in the afternoon, this is like, I've hit the jackpot. This was meant for me. I want to do this, right? So anyways, meet up at lunch. He goes, how'd you do? And I was pretty down on myself. And I said, well, to be honest, not very good. I missed one. And he looked at me and he goes, you only missed one? And I was like, yeah, Anyways, come to find out by the dust settles, I win this tournament that I'm in. And I still remember it to this day because it made front page of the little local newspaper. And my first prize winnings was a jug of bug wash and a ball cap.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it really set the stage for me and a lot of what I do in the hunting world, because for years and years and years before I was TV, I had a lot of partners, a lot of sponsorships come on board, including, Cabela's back in the day, to promote the different products that I was using and go from there. And that was even before, the grand stage of television. So did that, started doing that, moved out here with my girlfriend who turned into my wife. Rolled into Red Deer because it was smack dab in the middle between Calgary and Edmonton. And I hadn't been anywhere.
What year was that when you moved to Alberta?
That was 1997, 96,
okay.
Somewhere right in there. And yeah, picked Red Deer because it was in the middle. And of course it was, so I'm looking at her going, well, I can work in Edmonton or Calgary. It's only this far on the map. I could probably I could drive a pedal bike there,
Right.
Not knowing, how things really worked. And got out here on a Wednesday. I mean, some incredible things happened. We had enough clink in our pocket to get one night of a hotel room. And we were sitting in a little shitty burger joint. And this old couple overheard us talking. They ended up owning an apartment building. They brought us there after we ate, put us up, let us stay for free until we got jobs, and then we could start paying rent. They give us pots and pans and a blow-up air mattress. I mean, it was just incredible. Canalta flow measurement came in. I passed out like 70 or 80 resumes in 3 days. And I didn't care, like brain surgeon. Yep, here you go. I'm a quick learner. Just didn't matter. And Canalta was the first one to call back, and that was 25 years ago.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Been there ever since.
Yeah, been there ever since.
So hold that thought for a second. We have a Ansley McMahon in the chat says, "What's up, men? Spring bear season is rolling in very fast. Can't wait. Cheers." Which is, I mean, thanks for the comment. It's spring bear is one of my favorite hunts, bar none. We are blessed here in Alberta to have some great regions to hunt black bear in, and so we're very lucky. I can't wait for spring bear to get rolling around too. And just to touch on that, Steve, you hold a black bear that's in the top 10 in Alberta, do you not?
Yeah, it was number 1 for a while, and then it got I think it held it for like 6 or 7 years, and then it got beat out, and I think it's probably 3rd right now. If memory serves me right.
And what did it score again?
21 and 15
Holy
16.
Smoke. That is massive. So
it's big, but it still pisses me off because I missed it. I missed it by 1 to get 22 inches. So now I've got a goal.
Oh, that's awesome. So that was a colored bear, and you did take that with archery gear, did you not?
Yes, sir. I did. Yeah, You betcha. Up around Manning, Alberta, the northern parts of the province.
Yeah. So which, if anybody knows, northern Alberta, obviously some of the best black bear hunting anywhere in the world, maybe outside of Vancouver Island or that down in that Pennsylvania area. But we're very lucky to have some of the biggest bears and some of the best hunting, lots of opportunity, good seasons and stuff like that. So Ansley also asked, are you taking a bear again with Byron Wolf from the ground? What a wicked hunt. Always deadly sitting on a bait from the ground.
I've got to say 100% yes. I started, I've bear hunted ever since I was, I don't know, probably 8, way before you could legally bear hunt, put it that way. And, it was just one of those things, growing up in Ontario again, an abundance of bears, not the biggest bears around. Now that I've got to see, and now that I've got to bear hunt from coast to coast, but lots of them, right?
Yeah.
And, we always ate our bears in Ontario. That was it. I mean, that was just something else you put in the freezer. That said, I've had many moons of bear hunting and many successful hunts. So in the last couple of years, buddy Wasey Arthur and Sean O'Neill and a couple of those other guys, we got talking around a table having an adult beverage there one night, and they're telling their recurve stories and their traditional archery stories. I was so intrigued, and I was like, I came out of there and I'm like, I'm doing this, and so for the last couple of years I've been pretty much exclusively doing my black bear hunting with traditional archery equipment.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
It's been exhilarating to say the least. So yes, definitely going back to Byron Wolf's camp this year, Northern Alberta, Rainbow Lake, jumbo bears, great camp, great atmosphere. But we're going to be doing it from the ground now. Everybody thinks and there's some shows coming out this spring, they start in April, that'll airing last year's hunts. And I just, I'm going to throw a plug out there for the Edge. Wait till you see these. If you want up close and personal, I am on the ground with a recurve bow, and my cameraman's, typically up in the tree stand because he wants no part of being on the ground with me. And we're in tight. And a lot of people think, well, that's crazy. It's dangerous. And you know what? I guess it is to a certain degree. But what a lot of people don't realize is I'm not trying to do that to bring a new element or to be wild and crazy on TV. I'm doing that because I'm a new traditional bow hunter. I can't shoot 10 out of 10 at 25 yards.
Yes.
So I'm trying to close the distance, and and then on top of it, I do all my practicing from the ground. So I'm more comfortable on the ground than I am in a tree stand because it changes your angles and anchor points and all this stuff.
I couldn't agree more. I spent years hunting from a tree stand and while baiting black bears. And, it wasn't until I went to a ground blind, I took 2 real big bears in that Saddle Hills area. I started baiting up there, and I got two bears over, Pope and Young bears, both over 20 inches that I took up in Saddle Hills. And I always use the ground blind. I prefer it more. Unless you have, like you say, like your angles, especially with the recurve, it changes everything. But even with a regular bow, I don't know. I like being really interactive. I like sitting on the ground, seeing like up close on that same parallel playing field. I personally like it more. And yeah, there's always an element of danger, but I think that's, it doesn't matter what you do in hunting world. There's always going to be danger.
Yeah, 100%. It's just a lot of people don't understand bears and the nature of bears. So there's so many people out there, that see that and they go, oh, there's no way that's real because that bear would have killed you, because that's what bears do. They kill people. Well, no, that's a bunch of horse shit. Quit watching those movies.
Right.
And, there's bears that come up close in this episode that's coming up on the Edge. I had bears that were literally 2 feet from me, and I'm not in a ground blind. I'm just on the ground, and I'm kind of nestled up against the tree and doing the best I can. But again, bears, their eyesight's not that great. So it's movement. Any sudden movements, could potentially get you into trouble. But they're so curious too, right? So these bears are coming right up. And of course, me and my personality, I'm doing the old squish your head thing. And
I love it, man. I love it. That is awesome. And, I'm going to put a plug in here for Byron Wolf too, because Byron, if you're in the chat, I don't know if you are, you're probably out baiting wolves right now, but it's going to tie into another question I have with you, Steve. But, Byron Wolf runs a top-notch outfit, wolf hunting adventures in northern Alberta. His black bear hunting is exceptional around Rainbow Lake. Just plenty of bears, lots of action. They shoot a lot of good bears. So, if you're ever looking for that hunt, I know it's good to shop local right now with the borders being closed. Hit up Byron Wolf Hunting Adventures and check him out. He also runs, without question, the best, right along with Kyler Knelson. Two top guys in the wolf industry today, and their wolf hunts are just exceptional. Steve, you've been on a hunt with Byron, and I do want to talk about that a little bit because you were successful. Now, did you film that hunt, and is that going to be on the Edge TV show?
It is. It's coming out in April here. So yeah, it's and let me just go back. I got to give Byron needs to get a plug for this on his bear hunts. Not only are they great, big bears, lots of them, great camp and all that, but Byron cuts rates in half for youth hunters. And I think that's very important to mention, because now we can start to get, he's basically promoting bring your kids, and now it's a family affair. Nice. And last year when I was up there doing the hunt, we had Copelands in camp, grandfather, father, and son, 3 generations of Copelands, and just watching them hunt and interact with each other and laugh, and that's more special than the big bears laying on the ground at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, and there's no question about it. It's anytime you can add family into the element of hunting, it just adds another dimension, what makes it really special. And it's really hard, and we'll get into this in a little bit later because I want to talk about some of the negativity, but people just don't understand what it's like to be out there in the wilderness and in the wild with your family and just enjoying nature. It's not about dead animals on the ground. So so tell me a little bit about that wolf hunt you had with Byron.
The wolf hunt, I think it started, my interest there. I've shot a few wolves. I've trapped a few wolves in Northern Ontario. And then I shot 2 wolves while I was hunting other species, maybe caribou in Northwest Territories and maybe one up in Alaska. But I never had a recovery. Bad shots, quick shots, like fleeting opportunities. And for me, wolf is, you don't wait for your shot, you take it. And hopefully you get them, and it's one less wolf out there to worry about. Right. That's my attitude on that whole thing. But to go up and hunt them professionally with Byron, it was quite the eye opener. I mean, I've been, again, bear hunting for so long, and a lot of the places I've hunted bear were baited hunts. And most of these were always do it yourself. So I know the work that goes into it. And I knew it would kind of be similar, going up there with Byron and actually watching him do it and going through the whole process. But it was incredible to see the amount of work that goes into that.
Right.
And, now we're talking about a species that has a sixth sense that's beyond anything else that you've ever hunted before. I swear to God, when I leave my house in Red Deer to drive 11 hours up to Byron's place, when I start my vehicle, those wolves know I'm on my way. That's how smart they are. So, it's very difficult. And of course, it comes down to chance and luck and the right place at the right time, hunting in the right wind, in the right conditions. But basically, it's a grueling hunt for one reason only, and it's mental. You're basically sitting in an outhouse, closed in, that's this big for, this time of year, 11, 12 hours a day, sun up till sundown. And again, I believe the colder, the better. So, I mean, if you get lucky, it's crazy to say that out loud. If you get lucky to sit in minus 25 for 10 hours,
you're doing happy. You're happy.
Like, it's like,
yes.
So that's the wolf hunt in a nutshell. I mean, it can be incredibly long, or, he had a client up there last week that saw a wolf 15 minutes into his hunt on the first day.
I seen that post. Yeah. I find it very interesting. He's, Byron's got so many ups and downs with his hunters. I mean, the opportunity to kill a barn wolf is really high. Now, people hitting a wolf is really low. So
I know where you're going with this.
So anyways, I'm just going to put that on hold there. I want to get to a question here from Kerwin Lumbach. He says, Steve, what's your favorite big game animal to hunt? Mine is moose in the rut. I've been on many successful moose hunts in northwest of Manning along the Chinchaga River. Love the moose meat.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, the best part of the moose hunt is the moose meat. I mean, I grew up on it. A lot of people, that I see that have maybe growing up on something like moose meat, they tend to, as they get older, they're like, I'm never eating that again. I would put a moose in my freezer every year and eat the whole thing. And there's only 2 of us in this house, with the odd barbecue and a few friends coming over. But, to answer his question, it's a tough one. And I get asked it all the time, and I still don't know how to answer it, because if you have a bull moose come into your call in the middle of the rut, it is phenomenal. There is nothing like it. 1,200 pounds of raw emotion coming right to the spot, but flip the switch and have a big screaming bull elk come in. Same kind of scenario in the rut. To stalking a big mule deer that's sleeping in the canola, or coming over a saddle and spotting 4 sheep laying there. I don't know, man. Like, it's just so difficult to say one species. I think the hero, if I had any hero in me at all, I tend to say the sheep more so than anything. But that's kind of me blowing a little smoke up my own skirt, because we all know it's very difficult to do that. And not only to hunt them, but to be lucky enough to be successful.
Exactly.
So, Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm with you on the moose. So, I mean, as soon as, anybody starts talking about it, I start getting fidgety, and it's just, I mean, I love it. We got a show coming up. I was with my buddy Don up in Northern BC last year, and I shot the 13th moose that we called in, and we called in moose that came swimming right up to our little swellfish boat, the little aluminum.
Oh, that's so cool.
Dude, the footage is incredible. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I know where he's coming from on the moose.
Yeah, so I just here's what I love about this show, and this is exactly why I wanted to do this program, because the content is endless. I feel like we could talk all night long, have a few beer. This is exactly why I wanted to do this show. But the Edge television show, does that air in the United States?
It does. It airs on Pursuit Channel. It airs on Cowboy TV. And you can watch all of the episodes you missed on Amazon Prime.
Because we have one guy, Keziah Jones. He came up with me on a wolf hunt last year. He's in the chat. He's laughing because they're both deathly afraid of bears. So he's got some smiley. But a big shout out to my boy Chuck Young from Montana, the Destroyer, one of the best arm wrestlers in all of Montana. He's in the chat. So hello, Chuck. Good to have you on here. You've been wanting to come up to Alberta to do some hunting. So I hope Steve's stories is motivating you and to get up here and hunt. So hello to Chuck.
We're either going to motivate him or turn him on a 180 and send him back south.
Well, I don't know. Chuck, he's been wanting to come up here and get on a wolf hunt and some other stuff and do some sledding. So I'm glad to see him in. We got a couple of Americans with Keziah from Kansas, Chuck Young from Montana. Great to see you guys. So yeah. So a little bit back, here's the thing. We can jump all over the place because there's so much to talk about. But I want to hear more about the day you shot your wolf with Byron Wolf. Are you able to talk about that before the show comes out?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's probably only going to be, 2 million people watch it. Or 20, whatever. Doesn't matter. The day I shot my wolf was pretty unique day. That story actually starts.
Are you there, Steve?
Yeah, I'm here. You're frozen. Can you still hear me?
Oh, hold on. Okay, sorry, Steve.
There you go.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a glitch there. That's bound to happen. So, sorry. The wolf hunt. You're able to talk about it a bit. I don't want to take away from the show, but I want to hear the story if you can.
Yeah, you know what? I think I could get away with a little bit, mostly because it's funny, and it all starts the night before. I've sat in this blind. Byron's put me out. He's got me in a blind day after day after day. And it's wolf hunting. You could sit there for 8 days straight and not see a single wolf. Yeah. Or bam, as well as anyone with the baits that you run yourself. Mm-hmm. I mean, how fast it can happen. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting a little tired, and Byron says, hey, tomorrow morning, why don't you sleep in and we'll go run some baits. And I'm like, yeah, it's a nice break, and he says, well, we're going to do the lake bait first because I have a lot of history with the wolves on this lake. And there's a very good chance when we get there, they'll be out on the lake. And I'm, puff my chest out, tell everybody how good of a shot I am. And, doesn't matter how far they are, just show them to me and I'll knock them over. And, so, and we're sitting around dinner having a few drinks, right? Then the bullshit starts flowing on each side, right? So anyway, get up in the morning, sleep in a little bit, get up in the morning. Well, we go to the lake and he gives me a little spiel right before we walk in. There's a skinny little trail you got to walk through.
I was there when he baited that. I know exactly where you're at the lake. I went up to the bar and I was there when he first baited that. So I know exactly the trail you're talking about.
Well, he's giving me this. All right, if we do see wolves, just follow me, get down, drop your pack, take the shot. Okay, yeah, no problem. And in my head, I'm sitting there, are you freaking out of your mind? Like, there's no way this is gonna happen. These are wolves. You're not gonna call it. Like, just stop. Well, damned if we don't get out to the edge of the lake, and you're looking through the little breaks in the trees, and all of a sudden movement. And I mean, the bait's over here, but the movement we see is way over here. Put the binos up. There's 4 friggin' wolves out on this lake. And I mean, they're on the other side. So it's like yard sale. You know, I'm dropping mitts and gloves and taking off balaclavas and trying to get a pack down. And as soon as you get down, we're up to our thighs in the snow. So I can't lay down prone to get steady enough to take that far of a shot. And Byron, at this point, I've stayed so long that my cameraman had to leave. There's no budget to have a cameraman, you know, for 75 days. So a bit of an exaggeration. But anyway, so Byron and I were just, you know, I'm sitting in this, typically in this little hut. So all I need is the kill shot, and we got the show wrapped. Everything else has been professionally filmed. So Byron's running the camera, and it's on a monopod, like just one kind of pole, right? He's got it 6 feet over his head with a tiny, trying to look at a tiny little view screen over his head, holding it up like this. And I crawl to the blind, like 20, 25 yards, so I can get in the blind and get set up on a set of sticks so I can have a steady shot. And I don't know if there is any other way I could have done it. Because the wolf ended up being like 457 yards out. And yeah, anyways, by the time I gained my composure and touched it off, we pounded him. And yeah, the celebration was on. But it was the biggest wolf of the year up there, 110 pounds on the scale, legit.
Oh yeah, that's a big wolf.
Yeah, so a big wolf. And yeah, I just couldn't be happier with it, right?
So what were you shooting? I'm curious.
I was shooting a 300 short mag on that one.
Oh, nice.
200 grain bullet. Yeah. So yeah, it was, you know, everybody always asks me, you know, I hate talking about calibers because, you know, you talk to one guy and he says, oh, that's overkill. And I'm like, are you from outer space?
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
You killed them too much. What?
Yeah. Like, I couldn't agree with you more. I had a couple guys come up with me last year, and one of my good friends, Shane Ecklund, he came up and did a wolf hunt with me in December. And he was shooting a 300 Remington Ultra Mag, and I agree. There's nothing too dead. I mean, right? So
no, I mean, you show me 2 dead, and I'll give you all the money I have.
Oh, I love it. We got a question for you here from Thomas Bennett. He says, "What's your favorite bear rug or full body?" So I think he's talking mounts. What's your favorite mount for bears, rug or full body? Would love to see some trophy room pictures.
For me, kind of depends on the bear. So I was, again, very fortunate to kill the largest black bear in Alberta. He ended up being colored. Funny story there too, because I'm colorblind. I didn't know he was colored until somebody else told me. So but anyway, that's a whole other ballgame. But anyway, just the sheer size of this thing. My taxidermist, who actually was up there on the hunt with us, talked me into a life-size mount, and I'm very, very glad I did. I've had rugs. I love the rugs. They take up a lot of room, which sounds crazy after talking about a life-size mount on a bear, but they do. They take up a lot of wall space unless you actually put it on the floor. But when you put it on the floor, you have to be okay with people walking on it. Mm-hmm. And if you have pets, dogs will eat the claws on the bear all the time.
Very good.
So you got to be really careful. That's a good tip for you if you spend all the money on taxidermy and then put your beautiful rug out on the floor. Watch the dogs. And but for me, you know, I also really like I don't like the neck or shoulder mounts on a bear. But the next one I do is going to be a half mount, front legs, chest, and head. And with any luck, he'll have a big white blaze on his chest and a 20-inch pumpkin.
And you know what? Steve is talking from experience here because he's got so many mounts. He literally had to buy half of Sylvan Lake or to build an addition on his house just to put all his taxidermy work up. And isn't that right, Steve?
Yeah, the man cave. It's a long time coming, that one for sure. But you know, it's a dual purpose as a fanatic archer and OCD hunter. You know, everything's got to have its spot. I'm just very particular about my hunting gear, the way my setup is. If I miss when I'm in the field, it's because I missed. It's not because of my equipment. And I pour a lot of time into making sure that my equipment is exceptional, not good, but exceptional. Because if there is a mistake, I want to know that it's me. There's only me to blame. So we built a full 20-yard indoor lanes right here in the house, in addition with the man cave and for all the mounts. So it's a pretty special spot for me for sure.
Yeah, and you know, you can tell you take a lot of pride in your stuff, a lot of pride in your taxidermy work. And I think you were robbed, were you not? Somebody broke into your and stole a bunch of, which is just absolutely despicable and deplorable. But
yeah, it was that's kind of tamed right down. Of course, I probably put up about 40 different I'm gonna shoot you signs in the backyard, you know, and all around the house. So the neighbors all got a pretty good kick out of it. But hey, I'll tell you what, 40 signs, and there's nobody in 2 blocks that's been robbed ever since. So
they don't even drive in your back alley now. They just go the other direction. Eh?
No, it worked good. It worked good.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I remember you posting about that, and that's really unfortunate.
The unfortunate part was I still to this day truly believe that it was somebody that actually followed me or follows me still potentially on social media.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The way the timing went, you know, trying to keep up with this game. I call it a game, social media game, but it's really to do it right and to promote the TV show, the Next Level Hunter brand, myself, to do it right. Yeah, there's a lot of work involved in it, right? And I'm not, I'm not a model. I don't have the ability to wear a tube top and shorty shorts and gain a huge following because of my looks. So I've got to rely on a lot of other different stuff, hunting ability, humor, personality, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just sad because the way it all went down, it was timing wise, you're updating. I'm trying to update my social media in real life, real time. And it kind of keeps everybody engaged with what's going on. Those that are interested, I don't post a lot of stuff that's, unless you see me and I don't have a white beard, well, then that's from years gone by. So it's usually pretty current. And unfortunately, when you do it that way, it opens the doors for, the pricks of the world to come in and take advantage
100%.
of it too.
Yeah, it's sad to see that. I mean, that's one of the things I just despise in life is thieves. So Thomas Bennett says, Steve, I love your Next Level Bino pack. And that's something I wanted to touch on was the brand Next Level Hunter. So yeah, I had a couple guys say they just love your Bino pack. So why don't you talk a little bit about the brand Next Level Hunter, Steve?
Well, I appreciate that, to everybody out there that's purchased one, tried one out, liked it or even didn't like it, thank you very much for supporting not only the brand, but the products. And I mean, it's for me, that harness system, Next Level Hunter, it was kind of one of those deals where if you even look back into like season 4, season 5 of our show, you'll start to see me changing up my bino harness. And, I might have a Vortex front or a SG system or whoever it was, it ended up being a black and then I'd sew a blue pocket over here. And all of this was sewed together at my kitchen table with fishing line because I thought fishing line was stronger than, I don't even know what you call it, sewing line, whatever the hell that is. And, but I kind of refined it, and I refined it for me because I'm a huge believer in seconds count, especially for archery.
100%, yeah.
And I wanted to get the full draw faster than I did the last time, but just as accurately. And I've, from falling on my face so many times, but being smart enough to kind of learn from it, I shot right over an elk's back 10 years ago that should have been a chip shot, but I reached down to get my rangefinder out of my pocket, pulled it up, clicked it on him, had to put it back in my pocket, which meant I took my eyes off the elk. He took 2 steps, which is 6 yards,
There you
you
go,
know,
guys.
and if you're shooting 50 yards, 6,
100%.
right over his back, you know, and gone. So I wanted to develop things that made you faster, that were more efficient, and most importantly, allowed everything one-hand operation, so you didn't have to take your eyes off the prize. And that's what we came up with. So I literally took the best parts. I didn't reinvent the wheel. I just took the best parts of everything that I had out there and smashed them all together, and then started playing with right down to angles, the rangefinder pockets on a very specific angle, so you can just drop it.
Nice.
And you don't even have to look down. You just drop it and it's in there and you come to full draw. So I did all this for me, very specifically, to make me a better hunter. People started to see it on the TV show, also through social media and pictures, and they're like, what is that contraption? And I got so much feedback from it that I was just like, okay, let's try to make this. And for any, you know, everybody out there has had a great idea, but they don't know how to take it from the idea stage to completion and actually sell it.
100%. Yeah.
So, and neither did I. So all I did was I sought out somebody who did have those capabilities, and then made him a partner, you know, because I didn't want to and didn't have the money to pay anybody. So I'm like, you take a chance on me, I take a chance on you. Let's see if this can happen. And it didn't. And you know, we're sitting here today with over 3,000 units sold.
That's awesome.
And I still feel like it's could be so much bigger, but it's, again, the hard part is the self-promotion. So I appreciate those out there that reached out and actually asked about it. Tell your friends about it, tell everybody, because I just feel I'm proud of it, but I also feel a little awkward pumping it myself, because it's like, you know, you're kind of blowing that smoke up your own skirt or pumping your own wheels and making your own head.
Hey man, be proud of what you do. It's, I mean, I've heard nothing but great things. So be proud of it and plug it all you want.
But it is pretty awesome. You know, one of the biggest things for me, I mean, Shields Outdoors. I mean, I'm a small town kid from Northern Ontario that, you know, our biggest you know, the biggest thing we could do in life back then was get a job at the pulp and paper mill. Mm-hmm. And here we are today. And, you know, I've got this little company, Next Level Hunter, going, which is taking, you know, it's getting its own legs and starting to grow. Next Level Hunter apparel, with the shirts and the hats and the hoodies and you name it, you want it, we got it.
So where can you grab all the stuff, Steve? Where can people find it?
Next Level Hunter apparel. So nextlevelhunterapparel.com, I guess, is the number one site. You can get the harness there, all the apparel. So nlhapparel.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jeff Squires is in the chat. He says he's never heard of Steve Ecklund.
I never heard of him. Who did you say? What's her name? Jeff Squires?
No, I'm just kidding. He says a couple of beauties. So shout out to Jeff. He's a big time advocate of hunting. And,
Jeff, we still need to get one of those. It's time, buddy.
Yeah, he says, who's Steve Ecklund? No, I'm just kidding. So no, that's awesome, man. You know, I've seen the gear. You know, I'm gonna get some from you myself. You know, I've never been one to really want to dump a whole lot of money into the Cooey and the Sitka type stuff. I'd love to try out your stuff, Steve. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna purchase some of this stuff and give it a whirl.
Appreciate it.
So, yeah. So anyways, I wanted to, man, like I said, there is so much to talk about. So some of the questions I wanted to have for you was, one is I wanted to talk about let's go back a little bit of history. You know, there's no question that I think everybody knows that you faced some real adversity in life with, you were diagnosed with cancer. Maybe your attitude through the whole thing was just beyond inspirational. If you just want to, you know, so what is your most rewarding hunt, kind of based around that, you know, the challenges you faced, and, you overcome it. I believe you're 100% clear and free, and just kind of your most rewarding moment based around that in your hunting career.
Yeah, it was one of those things, it's the cookie crumbled, and on that day it crumbled right in my lap, and I actually came back from a bear hunt up in northern Alberta, and was gone for 10 or so days, missing the wife. And it was kind of a funny story because up there, these are do-it-yourself camps that we're running, so no showers, and you're dealing with bait. And anybody that's bear hunted knows that's from rotten beaver carcasses all the way to popcorn and you name it, right? So long story short, it's not a very clean hunt. You can sponge down as much as you can while you're up there, but when you come home, you're ready for a shower. And so I come home, my wife greets me at the door and she wants to give me a big hug and a kiss. And I'm like, hold on, I need to shower. Like, this is terrible, right? So I go in and have a shower. Of course, a lot of times I'm consumed with the hunting and work and everything else. And of course, you're still trying to be there as a husband. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes the husband part took a little bit of a back seat, like, hey, I want to go to the movies. No. Hey, you want to come to Costco? Nope. So on this particular day, I'm in the shower and I come out and she says, oh no, I was in the shower, and she came in the bathroom and she says, hey, tomorrow I got to do this and I got to do that. And I got to do this. And I just, I was missing her. I've been gone for 10 days. And I said, hey, whatever you want, I'm with you tomorrow, babe. You want to do it, anything you want to do. And I mean, we're not talking about, like, I don't have a wife that has to go to Paris and buy Gucci bags. Yeah. My wife is like straight up cool chick. And she's like, well, I want to go to Costco and I have to get my eye examination. And then I said, well, how about a matinee tomorrow afternoon? And she's like she won the husband lottery, like, I'm just, this is so weird for her. So it was pretty cool. And we got all set. And anyway, we got talking. She says, I got to go in and get this eye examination from our family doctor. And she says, when's the last time you had a physical? I was like, well, I don't know, it's been years, So anyways, we go in there, she talks me into getting the physical, and come to find out they ran some tests. I got sent somewhere else for some more tests, all in the same day. And we left there, say about noon, and 3:00 in the afternoon, my cell phone rang, and it's some doctor on the other end of the phone. Mr. Ecklund, yep. This is Dr. So-and-so. We hate to do this over the phone, but you have cancer, on my friggin' cell phone.
Couldn't imagine, man.
And he's like, I need you to get to the hospital right away. Come straight to the hospital. And I was kind of like, well, I'll go home. I'll tell my wife. He's no, come straight to the hospital. Phone your wife, get her to bring you some bags. You'll be operated on tomorrow morning at 7:00. It was like that. And I'm not kidding you. And it was like a movie. And I don't know why to this day it happened that fast, but I'm kind of glad it did, because it didn't really give me a lot of time to process what was going on. So yeah, I went in. Of course, it was very sad. It was probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do, is tell my wife over the phone again to meet me at the hospital. Because when you hear the word cancer, it's like, that's it. Start sizing you up for the box. You're dying. And kind of too young to really, at the time, if somebody asked me the day before, hey, tell me what you know about cancer, I would have said, well, you get it, you're effed. Like, that's it, you're done. Because I didn't really know anything about it. And anyway, here we are in a matter of 8 hours, and you get this news. So went in, had the operation, had a bit of a squabble with my wife, because afterwards, I found this crazy, but afterwards, so they come back and they say, okay, Mr. Ecklund, we've had a very successful operation. It's time to start talking about treatments, and we'd like to bring in an oncologist and the radiation people and whoever else all these different people to talk to you about it, because we want to talk about long-term side effects. Because I'm 40 at this time, right? And long-term side effects are like 20 years. So you work your whole life to retire at 60 years old, and now you have to deal with these side effects, right? So that's what I'm thinking in my head. They started talking about the chemo and radiation and all this stuff. And at the end of it, I'm like, so you told me I had a successful operation. Pathology reports are good. So what if I just not do anything? And they're like, whoa, that's gonna, there's a 35% chance that the cancer will come back if you don't treat it. And I'm like, 35%. So you're telling me there's a 65% chance that it won't come back. Oh, well, we don't like to talk like that. And I'm like, listen, I said 65%. I made it through every examination in my whole life, and that's a passing grade. Trust me, because 65 was like top marks for this guy. Like, that's a win. So I actually ended up refusing the chemo and radiation. And it was a little bit of a dicey play. But at the end of the day, it's the first 5 years after that's really, the critical stuff. Knock on wood. I made her. They check you I was checked every 3 months up until 5 years, and now I'm on a 6-month routine where I get checked, full CAT scans and all that kind of good stuff every 6 months. So, knock on wood, still going on strong.
It's really an incredible story, Steve, and and I love your whole attitude, and it is inspirational. And I think a lot of times just that self-confidence and the belief in yourself is better than almost any treatment. Sometimes it's just having that confidence that you're going to beat something. So, man.
Yeah, I think it's super important, and I'm probably very fortunate for me with my career, with my oil and gas career, the real job, the hunting, the TV show. The success that I'm having with some of these things stems from my core roots, and that's I'm a fighter. Like, I'm not afraid to fight. 100%. And I don't like to lose. So, I'm real competitive, and it doesn't necessarily have to be competitive with you or Jimmy across the street who shot a bigger whitetail buck than me. I'm being competitive against myself. I'm going to beat myself every time. And in order to do that, if you're standing in my way, then I'll run right over you as well to get there. And I'm not saying that to sound like a pompous prick. That's just kind of my attitude, because in life, I know this: if you want something bad enough, no one out there is going to ever hand it to you.
It's a great point, Stephen. It's a great attitude. Life never meets anybody halfway, and it's that you hit it right on the head.
Yeah. So we give her with a smile on my face. And same thing with my wife. I mean, she's so like me, other than the fact that she's good looking, but she's competitive, hates to lose. And trust me, she'll fight.
Oh, I know. I hear you. We got a question from Jeff Moses Jr. in Idaho. He says, Steve, what's your biggest muley you've harvested in the beautiful country of Canada? I'm from Idaho and was wondering if you've ever hunted there. Thanks.
I haven't hunted Idaho yet, but it is on the bucket list. And as far as the biggest mule deer, scoring wise, I was real fortunate to shoot one. Well, it's probably 8 years ago now. Would have been 8 or 9 years ago. Would have been my biggest, 232 inches. I've been super fortunate on the mule deer. That was a rifle hunt. Drew a tag here in Alberta. Got lucky, super lucky on some new property that I'd bow hunted it all year. I was actually hunting a really nice non-typical. But come November, this guy showed up, and made dreams come true for sure.
232 inch?
Yeah.
Did I miss something? When was this?
Yeah, no, this is when I didn't have any gray in my beard. It was probably solid 8 or 9 years ago. It was right before I started doing TV. Yeah, it was a great deer. And you know, I've been so fortunate on mule deer. I've got, you know, probably 4 that knock on the door at that 200 inch. I've got one typical that just went over 200 inches with my bow that was shot down southern Alberta. So yeah, really fortunate. The unfortunate part is I don't think I've ever captured any of those great big mule deer on TV. But we did do a hunt in southern Alberta this year. Massive. For those of you that follow along on social media, you saw it. A massive three by three. What we call the 3x3. That's controversial in itself, apparently, after some of the Facebook posts. But we call it a mainframe 3x3, and he's got a nice big drop tine on one side. But that's coming up again in this season of the Edge, and phenomenal hunt. And the backstory that I got after the hunt was completed was even greater. So many people in the area had history with this deer. We're going to send his lower jaw away to get a true legit age on him, but he is 100% for sure at least 9 years old for a mule deer buck.
Smokes.
Yeah, so we got 7 years of pictures of him, and the first year that we not we, but other folks that have sent me, and the first pictures that they had, he was at least a 2-year-old. So yeah, he could be a double-digit deer, you know, for age class. So that's going to be a really cool story too.
Well, you do have you when you took Slim. If anybody doesn't know who Slim is, it's a giant Saskatchewan whitetail that Steve harvested, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. That one was on film, was it not?
It was, yeah. Yeah, you betcha. That was 3 years of my life chasing the same whitetail. And yeah, you want to talk about make somebody mad. And I'm not talking about fighting mad. I'm talking about like screws loose mad. Yeah. I'm not proud of that 3-year span of my social media posts while I was deer hunting, because there's some posts that were out there for sure.
Well, that was an incredible story. That whole deer. What did that deer end up scoring? It was.
He went 194.
Jeez.
Yeah, 194, and a very unique rack. I mean, he was nicknamed Slim. 194 inches of antler there, and he's only got a 15.5-inch side spread.
Mm-hmm. So incredible. So yeah, 15 inches cool inside. Yeah, no, 100%. That's a cool deer. So a couple topics that I just want. Are you good for time, Steve?
Yeah, you betcha.
Okay. One of the things I definitely wanted to talk about. I mean, like I was saying, we could go on for hours, but is the negativity that you receive on your social media following? There's no question. You're a prominent figure in the hunting world on social media. Talk a little bit how you deal with that. I think there was one that really come to light, and that was maybe your cat hunt when that went as high as the Prime Minister's wife. Was that not you?
Yeah, our former First Lady. Yeah, yes. and my small penis.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that and how you deal with it, and tell me like just your thoughts, pros and cons of social media and hunting. I'm interested to hear what you think of that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, the cat hunt, you know, that's a bit of a unique scenario on that one. And I can tell you this, there's no real rhyme or reason when they target you and how it blows up. That blew up like it was. I mean, that was national news. That was global. I mean, not just here in Alberta. It was across Canada, the States, overseas. I'm getting messages from Germany and England and all these places, right? But yeah, you know, a lot of it stems out of the UK. A lot of the anti-hunters, big majority of anti-hunters, California and the New York area, you know, for down there in the States. Big kind of what I would call PETA havens, you know. And a lot of, you know, really uneducated folks on that side of it. And yeah, granted, this is a pro hunting podcast or Zoomcast or whatever we're doing here, whatever you call these things. Mm-hmm. You know, it's pro hunt. So it is a little bit one-sided, but it's tough. I think that one for me really opened my eyes to how much negativity there actually is out there and how crazy our systems are. You know, like I can get banned on Facebook or a social media platform in an instant for saying very light, I'd say very light humor, you know. Um, when this happened, you know, with the former first lady, you know, Harper and all of them, I had literally over 4,000 legit death threats.
Jeez.
That came in through social media, whether it be Messenger or for the public viewing, to the point where you open a police investigation, because if something were to physically happen, you have to have a case open in case you had to defend yourself, right? Mm-hmm. But these people who are so worried about a mountain lion that gets killed, one mountain lion, and how terrible you are, but in the same breath tell you that they're going to run over your niece
or your kids
on the road when they see her with their vehicle. We're going to run her over. You know, so there's no real rhyme or reason to crazy. There was a lot of it. You know, I chalk it up a lot like the keyboard warrior. You know, we're going to put in our 2 cents, and what's he going to do? He can't hurt me from here. I live in my mom's basement, and, you know. I could go on with a lot of choice words on that end of it, but I mean, at the end of the day, for me, yeah, there was a lot of people worried. My family was worried. They were contacting my work. They were contacting my sponsors, my partners in the outdoor industry, threatening to, you know, not do business with this company or that company, all that kind of good stuff. So, I mean, for me, it was just kind of, I don't know, in one ear, out the other. I mean, yeah, I've learned to have pretty thick skin with it all, but at the bottom and the end of all of this, what actually happened was, for the first time in many years, I seen hunters come together and outdoorsmen come together. Mm-hmm. And even people that wouldn't necessarily like Steve Ecklund, because there's all kinds of haters. I mean, most, you know, the vast majority of my haters live closest to you, you know, and some of it stems from jealousy, and some of it stems, you know, probably stems from they don't really know me. But all this TV stuff, it just gives you this kind of a hero. I don't even know what you'd call it. But I don't want any part of being a hero. You know what I mean? I just want to be a regular guy who hunts. I mean, I hunt more than most.
And love what you do.
Yeah, I do it publicly, so you get to see it more than most people.
You know, sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, you know, you touched on one thing, the jealousy, and it's really unfortunate because that is true. There's a lot of jealousy watching somebody succeed, and there's no question you've been very successful with what you do, but that's due to the hard work you put in. Not to support the Steve Ecklund is very unfortunate, and you do see a lot of jealousy. I run into it all the time in the arm wrestling world. You know, there's been people been doing it for 20 years. I'm relatively new, 4 or 5 years in, and I've grown my brand to be one of the largest leagues. And it's crazy the amount of jealousy and hatred you get just for personal success. And it's just despicable to me that people are like this.
Yeah, you know, it's a tough one. I don't think it'll ever go away. No. I've learned to deal with it, you know, in my own way. The tough guy in me wants to say, oh, I don't care, you know, like, oh, he made a crack about this, or you know, you always get these people who talk about, well, yeah, of course you shot this and that, you're going on guided hunts. Well, yeah, we go on guided hunts because we want to experience it all. And if you want to, you know, do something like I did with the sheep slam, well, there's only one sheep that you can hunt right here at home. Want to do it yourself? That's the bighorn.
That's right.
You know, Rocky Mountain bighorn. You want a desert, a doll, or a stone, you legally have to go with a guide. You know,
100%.
And the TV show and all the kind of the success that comes with that has really allowed me to do that. You know, I'm I'm a regular working guy, like we talked about earlier with the, with the oil and gas job, getting my paycheck every 2 weeks like everybody else. But I found a way through the show, through the hunting, through everything that we're doing through Next Level Hunter, to where I'm able to travel around like a doctor or a lawyer. And I'm not putting those guys down. I'm talking about just what I think is big money, right? And I'm getting to do all these hunts. And without these privileges that I've been allowed or earned, depending on how you want to look at it, through doing the TV show, I would never be able to do this, 100%. Never, ever. I think, you talk about the sheep slam. I think there's, I don't know, 2,000 sheep slams now. I think at the time when I completed mine, there was 1,760 something. I think they were going to write me down for my sheep slam if I sent them the $60 to register it, which I did not. But anyways.
That's pretty prestigious. You better get on that.
Well, yeah, I've got theories on that too. And right. I love supporting Wild Sheep Foundation and all that, but I'm not one to, I don't give a shit if you read my name in a book. I really don't, but if you get to see me and shake my hand and look me in the eye and ask me about it, man, we'll sit down and drink a beer and I'll talk your ear off for hours about sheep hunting, But I think, the kind of the point I was getting at is if you took that 1,700 or call it 2,000 sheep slams that are in the world, and if you dissected the normal everyday working Joe from that, I bet you there's not 100 people that have ever done that, and that's what I'm proud about, and yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'd love to own an oil and gas business versus work in the industry, but I don't, that's just the way it is. But we found a way, and that's kind of, again, goes back to whether I'm beating cancer or trying to become tournament archer, on the 3D courses, wanting to be number one. It's just about the time and the effort you put into it. And yeah, there's some natural ability. I think you look at some of these guys out there, Chris Perkins, for an example, a young Canadian archer out of Ontario. He is lights out. The kid's lights out. I don't care if you like him or not. You stand on a line with him or go to a 3D tournament with him, he's going to put arrows inside of arrows, because that's what he does,
100%, yeah.
And there's all kinds of people out there like that. So, I put, anyone, jealous, you go right back to jealousy. Do I want to be able to shoot like Chris Perkins? You bet your ass I do. But, this kid he's the new hockey player versus the Wayne Gretzky from 30 years ago. Can't touch him. Like these kid, amazing. And I call him a kid just because I'm an old fart, but young man, just incredible. He's up there with the likes of, Levi Morgan. I put him in the same class. These people are with what they do for a living are remarkable. It'd be like arm wrestling, and I apologize because I don't know the arm wrestling world that great, but just that arm wrestler that he can't be beat. You can't beat him. I don't care how tough you are.
That's
whether it's technique,
true.
whether it's muscle, whether it's mass, it's some people just have that uncanny ability to excel so high that they're untouchable.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And you got to congratulate those people and support them, because they're few and far between when you got that natural talent.
Yeah.
So 100%. Jeff Squire says, I'm lucky just to get the bow pulled back.
Jeff's getting a little old too, I know he's the first one to always rag on me a little bit, but Jeff's a good guy, and
100%.
So this is the thing within the industry, so many people out there, the negative that we're talking about, it exists, but for me, to be perfectly honest with you, guys like Jeff, perfect example. I I'd give him the shirt off my back, and I guarantee he'd do the same for me. Yet, we've hung out half a dozen times in my entire life. But he's an outdoorsman. He's a hunter, and he's a real male deal, and I've met so many people just like that in this industry.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the things with Jeff Squires is what I really enjoyed about watching him was his post last fall when I think he harvested his first bighorn ram. That was pretty cool to see, and the excitement. So yeah, congratulations to Jeff on that. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Steve, about the whole social media thing is, do you think social media is hurting the hunting community?
The answer to that is 100% no. 100% no. I think it's a good thing for the hunting community. I think it keeps us rallied. I think it can bring us closer together. Mm-hmm. If we can get away from a little bit of that jealousy type stuff, he shot a bigger deer, this guy does this or that. Mm-hmm. Banding together is one of the biggest things that we can do right now as 100%. A hunting community, as an outdoor community. Because if you really want to talk facts and numbers, we are very, very outweighed and outgunned against the anti-hunters. We're 9 million anti-hunters versus 4 million hunters versus the rest of the millions and millions and millions of people that sit in the middle, and they don't really give a shit either way. We need to be able to relate to those people. And I mean, if it ever came down to an absolute vote, we're going to need those people in the middle. Case in point, when I call out these antis, and everybody knows I'm not afraid to do that on social media. I want people to see the comments and how absolutely ridiculous they are, because those people that sit in the middle right here, if even 10 people, 20 people, 100 people see those comments about how they're going to run you over, how they're going to kill you, how they're going to, you should some of the stupid shit that comes out of their mouth. Mm-hmm. I mean, so I put it up there for everybody to see just how ridiculous it is. Because at the end of the day, if I have to read 2 statements and I can't see the people that wrote them, but one statement says, I'm going to slaughter your whole family, and the other statement says, hey, this is why we do it, because of sound, management policies or scientific management policies, I'm going to probably go, well, I don't really want to hang out with the guy who wants to kill everybody. Mm-hmm. Let's look at this guy right here, and that's us.
Yeah, it's a very good statement, and I mentioned this on one of my arm wrestling podcasts about, people got to quit complaining, especially in the hunting community, about seeing too many people out there. The more we have, the more powerful we are, and we need that as a community to keep this going, because you're 100% correct. We are severely outnumbered from the antis to the nons, and we need to band together to.
Banding together will give us a sliver of an opportunity, a sliver of hope. And that's why I always tell everybody about that sliver of the numbers, because banding together, that's just the first step. We got to get over this bow hunters versus crossbow hunters and shotgunners against rifle hunters and this, fly fishermen against casting fishermen.
Right.
I don't know, have a clue what I'm talking about when I talk about fishing, but you kind of get where I'm going with this, right? The banding together to give us the numbers that we need, all for one common goal.
Yeah, no, 100%. And there's one Facebook page out there, and I'm not going to mention names, where you see it quite often when you get new people coming on this Facebook group, where they ask questions, they're new, and people just fucking attack them, and I just shake my head, come on, guys, help a guy out.
There's one thing to have, you're probably talking about Alberta hunting addicts. So there you go. I mean, you asked me to come on here.
Yeah, Steve Ecklund, you just say it as okay. Well, we're not hiding that.
But that is a great analogy, because it's a great site. I belong to it. I like to get on there, but I'll tell you what, I mean, I'm very careful about posting on there because it's the first place somebody will try to get into a confrontation with you.
Right.
And I just don't want any part of it. Like, anyone who follows along, anyone who knows me, I never have a problem with it. Anyone who knows me only from social media, you know, you could definitely, there's a lot of times where my humor comes off as arrogance, you know, but typically when I tell you how much of an awesome dude I am, there's a joke behind it. You know, it's not, there's a difference between me telling you, hey, look at how cool I am, or hey, look at how cool I am. You know, there's a big difference there.
Yeah.
I don't want any of the hero stuff, and I don't think it's there's too many heroes, you know, especially on the TV side of it. For me, I believe my game plan is to be me, and I had to take it. I had to gamble years ago when we first started doing it, because like the first, I don't think you could ever find them again, but the first like 3 episodes I did of The Edge, and then I watched them, I was like, who is this dick brain? Like, this guy is terrible. And I know what it was. They turned on the camera and I forgot all about being me. I thought I needed to be better than me, right? Like, I gotta, as soon as you see the little red light, you're like, I gotta say something cool. I gotta look cool. I gotta not make any mistakes. And at the end of the day, I was like, literally looked at these first 3 episodes and I'm like, who in the is that guy? And I sat down with my wife and she's like, hey, you got asked, because this is a weird story, but in the same year, for whatever reason, I got asked by 2 different TV shows to host, all in like a week apart. And I was like, what is going on? Like TV. And of course your head starts to swell up a little bit. It's like, this is the coolest thing ever. And anyway, she said, so you got asked to host 2 different shows. You picked one. And soon as you did it, you started to be somebody. You were trying to be somebody else. Why do you think they wanted you? And I was like, well, because of me. She's like,
there you go.
There's your answer, right? Just be you. But it's super hard for, I think, anybody. I know it was super hard for me to kind of run with that theory. It's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, what if they don't like me? Because let's be honest, I'll be the first one to tell you I'm a bit of an idiot. You know, but yeah, you kind of just run with it. And here we are. You know, hunt shows hardly last. If you can get one that lasts 3 years, you're awesome. And we're going on season 12 right now.
Yeah, and it's a really good show. It really is. The Edge is.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean the Edge, Jim Shockey's, and of course Live to Hunt. Those are 3 of my favorite shows out there. There's a lot of shows out there that are just fucking brutal, man. Like,
yeah, well, you named off some of my favorites for sure. You know, yeah. Cody and Kelsey for sure. Jim, he's an icon, you know, and a great man. Does a lot of good things. You know, I don't see eye to eye with a lot of stuff that Jim does, but I have nothing but respect for him either. Yeah. You know, he's paved the way. And again, I think it's all a part of, you don't have to agree with everything you see, TV, social media.
100%. Yep.
But you should, if you're on the team, the outdoors team, you need to, you're either on it or you're off it.
Yeah. And you're 100% right. You can always have you can always object to something respectfully, just because you don't agree with it, and that's going to happen in every walk of life. But there's ways to go about it, and you know, and I guess that's kind of what we're talking about on Alberta Hunting Addicts, where, you know, there's a lot of negativity where it's just completely unnecessary. And then there's,
and I mean, I don't think there's anybody on that site that would disagree. I mean, I know why you didn't want to say it out loud, and maybe I shouldn't have, but it is what it is. You know,
it is what it is.
I don't think we could talk to 100 outdoorsmen that are probably all following that same page, and they'd say the exact same thing. Jeff Squire
says he's banned from them.
Yeah, Jeff hasn't checked his Facebook lately. He's banned from mine.
Oh, that's great. Thomas Bennett said, what do you guys think of Meat Eater? That's another one that I really enjoy. Steve Ranella.
Yeah, Ranella. I mean, just a great show. Again, perfect timing for that question. You know, I'm better looking than him. I shoot bigger animals than him. I'm a better host than him. And all of those are my bullshit opinions.
Are you a better cook? Are you a better cook than him?
No, I am not a better cook than him. He's got me beat. But, you know, these are the things I'm happy to tell you that I'm jealous of Steve Ranella and Meat Eater. I mean, what a success story. If you're not jealous of that in my industry, then you're not pushing yourself hard enough to make change or to do something different. You know, here's the guy that went out and did something completely different, where he made it about adventure and cooking and culture, and the hunting was in the background, you know, for a lot of it. And he was rewarded for that, because you can watch the show on freaking Netflix. I can promise you, for the life of the Edge TV, we will never be on Netflix until we change things up. You know?
Oh, I had someone. Oh, you're back there, Steve. Sorry about that. We had another little glitch there.
Okay.
That's not bad for an hour and a half.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just saying about, you know, the Meat Eater. I mean, what a fantastic show. And,
yeah,
you know, I'd be lying if you said you weren't jealous there. I mean,
yeah.
If you're not jealous, you're not pushing towards something else, but it's jealousy and respect, you know, like he's paving the way right now. I mean, Netflix. I mean, you're not going to see my show on Netflix anytime soon.
Right.
Just because it's built differently, you know, and now he's really went after so this is a guy that's capturing those middle people, which is good for all of us, because it's not just about the hero, wham, big ram, big moose, big, you know, whatever. It's the adventure, the culture, the cooking, the food, the processing, the journey, all of it, right? And he's really done a good job with it. Yeah, Meat Eater.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, he truly has. Well, Steve, we've been going for about an hour and a half. Honestly, I could go all night. And I think what we need to do here is, I'd love to have you on again and do a part 2 if you're up for it.
Yeah, you betcha.
Because honestly, I have a lot more questions, but I vowed to keep this up to an hour and a half. I found it interesting because this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, because I felt that there was just so much content with hunting that you could literally put on a show for an hour and a half and not stop talking. And it's been,
I honestly feel like we just got started too. So yeah.
Why don't we plan? We'll do a part 2 to this, because I do have lots of more questions to talk to you about, especially with hunting here in Alberta.
Sure.
And we'll do this again. So yeah, thank you. It's been really successful for a debut. I think we had up to 35 people at one given time in watching the show. So
right on.
Yeah, for its debut, I think that is phenomenal. We had lots of guys engaging in the chat. So yeah, I'm out in Vancouver now. We'll officially be moved out there in midsummer. If you're up to come out for an island black bear hunt, let me know, because I'd love to do that with you if you're ever out that way.
Well, and I'm ready to take over your wolf baits here as soon as you give me the location.
I will have them, because they're good.
I know they're good. I've heard.
All right, buddy. Well, it's been a slice. I appreciate you coming on for the debut of this, the Outdoorsman show. I look forward to doing this again real soon, and we'll be in touch.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for having me.
Okay, Steve. Take care and all the best.
Cheers, buddy.
All right. Bye.